On blast.
Thank you. You're far too kind for tuning in to this, what we will call the On Blast podcast. As always, my name is Sheldon Alexander, and for this episode, I'm joined by my guy, Andrew Webster. Webby, what is good, my dude? How you doing?
Hey, we're still here. You know what I mean? We're surviving.
We're surviving. Social distancing.
Pretty crazy times here, Shelly. Usually we'd be recording this on a Thursday night, and there'd be a doubleheader of TNT basketball on. But that's not going to be the way it is for a little while. So I've got Seinfeld on with the sound turned down.
I hear you, my dude. I hear you. It is pretty crazy times for sure. And right off the top, I'm going to say we're not here trying to make any coronavirus hot takes or talk too much about what's going on with that. There's tons of outlets to do that. And the news, watch the news, people. Turn on CBC, do your thing. Watch the news, people, to get all that stuff.
Yeah, don't worry about us. We're not going to tell you much about the coronavirus.
Definitely not here for that. We're trying to give you kind of an escape and switch things up here. And you know what? Give you some recommendations on how you might be passing your day, because as we're all dealing with this social distancing, you know, who can't use some more recommendations of how to pass the time and what to do? And most importantly, and one of the reasons why, you know, ironically, we started this podcast, I always wanted it to have the vibe of you're just calling up one of your boys to talk shit. And, you know, I feel like we need that during these times, no?
I was going to say, Shelly, this is exactly what I've been doing the last couple of days this week is, you know, getting calls from friends and family that, you know, you may not even have heard from in a little while, but everybody's just calling each other just to make sure everybody's good, check in, you know, and that's so important, right? Like, just to have that kind of human contact, even if it is over the phone or over FaceTime, like that's what's going to keep us sane over the next couple of months.
It's totally true. And I mean, I honestly don't think sports will be back for a long time. So, you know, it's time to find some adjustments, make some adjustments. And even with that being said, we're not going to do, as mentioned, I know there's more coronavirus athlete news coming out, and we're not going to really get into that. But the one thing I feel like we kind of should talk about.
It's not going to be who's got it, who doesn't.
No, definitely not here for those breakdowns. Just know that it's obviously super serious, and it's going to probably get worse before it gets better. So with that said, though, you know, to kind of sports, there's not really much to talk about, obviously. But the thing is, NFL has been going on, and I feel like we'd be kind of, you know, who knows when sports will start. But when the NFL season does start, Tom Brady, arguably, no, not really arguably, the most famous football player there is right now on planet Earth, will be playing in a different uniform.
Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
What is your takeaway on that, Webby? Like, Tom Brady on the Bucs. Like, is this something that stunned you? Did you kind of see it coming? Did you believe those reports that I think it was Jeff Darlington had? You know, he's had this for a while that Brady was out, but now that it's happened, what's your reaction to that, man?
Well, if you've ever been to the beautiful city of Tampa, Florida, I mean, it should come as no surprise that this is where Tom and Giselle are planning on spending a little bit of their time. No, it's crazy. But when you think about it with football sense, it makes sense because that Tampa Bay Buccaneers team has some amazing skill position players when it comes to wide receiver and tight end. And if their offensive line can hold up in the interior, because that seems to be what will throw Brady off, is if you pressure him kind of from that interior place. But if their guards can hold up on a pass rush and give Brady even a little bit of time, I'm sure he'll be a little bit of an improvement from my guy, Jameis Winston.
Famous Jameis. I think I saw this stat. It was like Jameis had 30 plus interceptions last year, and it was like Brady didn't even have that many in the last 5. Something ridiculous, like just so like insane. But I saw something from Mike Lombardi that was trying to break down and just say that, you know, it's a short flight for Brady. He's going to a team with a lot of weapons, which obviously going somewhere that, you know, and you're talking about having Mike Evans, who's one of the best receivers in the league, and you saw the damage that Mike Evans was doing with Jameis.
Well,
what's
not only
Mike
that,
Evans
but Godwin, too. I mean, Godwin was a beast the last 2 years.
absolute beast. And, Brady, we know the issues that were reported in terms of Brady not really having weapons. But to me, this is still super weird because even though we see it all the time, we saw it with my guy, Joe Montana. Obviously, I'm a Niners fan. Obviously, MJ on the Wizards.
Yeah.
Like, what's his name? What's your Cowboys guy, running back, Emmett
Oh,
Smith,
Emmett Smith on the Cardinals.
right? We've seen it. We've seen it time and time again, but yet every time it does happen, we're still surprised by it, right?
Willie
And
Mays on the
so
Mets.
it's super weird. It's odd, but yet there's still part of me that wishes, like this is weird. Why would you go to the Bucs? Like this is odd. Like this is putting a lot of trust in Bruce Arians, who, has a pretty good reputation. But this now for Brady, that's still massive to me. Like that's putting a lot in Bruce Arians and who's their offensive coordinator, Byron Leftwich,
Yeah.
right? Like this is weird. This is super weird. Brady in Tampa Bay. I don't get it, man. I can't get it.
Wasn't Brady beating Byron Leftwich just a couple of years ago? Like, I mean, for me, honestly, it's not it's not so much the Tampa Bay thing that's weird for me. It's the 43 years old and then
Yeah.
choosing to go play for another team. It's those two things that are so almost un-Brady like, but it just kind of goes to show you how much he hated what was going on in New England.
For sure. And that's the thing where, so Mike Lombardi said Brady gets paid, gets great skill players with a voice to add some of his favorites, plus Bucks will run his offense, not their offense, and he is a quick flight to New York City. So you're right. The part of him leaving is odd and it's strange to me, but I don't know, man. I get it, but we saw the reports as well. Stephen A was saying how he got a call from Robert Kraft saying that, Brady made his mind up. Like he was just out, right? Like it wasn't like they could have done anything to keep him. He just had his mind made up that he was out. And it makes you wonder how much legitimacy these talks of Brady versus Belichick and kind of like the egos of the two of these guys to prove kind of, okay, well, yeah, the other guy had a lot to do with the success, but I could still do this without the other guy. Like, do you think that's kind of what's going on here between Brady and Belichick?
No, I mean, like you said the magic word there. It's ego, and it's not just the ego of Brady.
Yeah.
It's the ego of Belichick, and it's the ego of Robert Kraft as well. I mean, and I'm sure that Tom and Bill are going to be great friends as time goes on, but this is a thing of no, I'm the reason that this team is so good. No, I'm the reason this team is so good, and proving that to not just us as fans of the NFL, but to Belichick or Brady, depending on which side you are.
Now, I'll be honest, I kind of hoped that, not that I really, really wanted it to happen, but I wouldn't have been mad if Brady ended up with my Niners.
And you got rid of Garoppolo.
Sure, whatever. Like, Garoppolo's all right, but I mean, it's Tom Brady, right? Like, if we had Tom Brady in that Super Bowl, the Niners win.
You think that if Tom Brady was in that Super Bowl instead of Jimmy Garoppolo, that you win?
Yes, correct.
I don't know about
Hundo
that.
P.
I don't know
Hundo
about
P.
that.
What?
Tom Brady's not going to stop Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, but if at some point down the stretch when they put the game in Garoppolo, okay, first off, at the end of the half, when now we're really gonna get into this, Webby. This is what you're gonna do to me here,
We
Webby.
haven't talked in a little while. We haven't talked since Super Bowl.
It's true. But at the end of the half, when my guy Shanahan is just like, all right, we're just gonna run the ball and take it into halftime, 10-10 or whatever the score was. You don't do that if you have Tom Brady. You trust Tom Brady to try to drive it down the field and at least get a field goal.
I would
Then at
say
the
I don't think that you do that if you have Bill Belichick. I think that might be more of a coach thing than it would be a quarterback thing. I think that if Belichick had Garoppolo, he definitely because that's what Belichick's all about, is that scoring before the half and then getting the ball back.
But I don't think that Shanahan trusted Garoppolo, but I think he would trust Brady more. And so even in the second half or the fourth quarter when they left it to Garoppolo to try to make the comeback and he didn't do it, I just think Brady would have been able to pull it off. And I think it had more to do with the fact that, Garoppolo was all right, but he wasn't going to ever win you a game. Do you know what I mean? Like, he might not lose you the game. Like, you're not going to blame that loss on Garoppolo.
Right.
But he wasn't going to win you the game.
But it was
Tom Brady can win you the game.
But it's the defense that was going to win you the game. And that's what I mean. It's like Tom Brady wasn't going to play, defensive back and stop Mahomes there.
But the offense did nothing. Once Mahomes and them were coming back, you still had 10 points on them. You just needed to get a field goal. Instead, they're going 3 and out. They're getting nothing. Not even running the ball. They're trying to pass it. And I think with Brady, you have a better chance. But either way, regardless of all that, this is just bringing up bad nightmares for me. Bad Super Bowl nightmares.
I was just
no dreams at all.
If you want to talk about what I've been watching here yesterday, yesterday was great. I was on Twitter and somebody was like, "Oh my God, they're playing Super Bowl 42 right now, or Super Bowl 42." Anyway, the one that the Eagles,
I don't remember which one it was.
The one that the Eagles beat the Pats. So I just flipped that on for a couple hours before Survivor started, just to see how the boys were doing.
And how did that go?
There was a Philly special. There was Derek Barnett with a strip sack on Brady. It was fantastic.
Memories.
Oh, just I can't believe that it's real. It really happened.
But here's my question to you, Webby. With Tom Brady gone, who wins the AFC East now?
It's tough. Probably Miami Dolphins. I would say the Miami Dolphins.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like their
the moves
coach.
The Dolphins have made.
Yeah, and they brought in not only just on the offensive side of the ball, but they bringing in Kyle Van Noy, another Patriot. They just did some really smart moves, and their coach is the former Pats linebackers coach. So, I think that Miami team, especially if they're smart in the draft, and I believe they have a couple of picks. Of big first-round picks, right?
I want to say they have 4 picks in the top 70 or something like that.
Yeah. So they could really change their fortunes around, and I liked their team last year.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be honest with how bad their team was. Remember all the tank talk at the start of last season? And then to go from that to have the finish that they had, you got to give them a lot of credit for just, playing that hard and buying into what the coach was selling, And so now you get a full year to regroup, weed out some of the people that might be not on the same program as you. As you mentioned, you got a coach that's, laying in his new formula, but also you're adding at least 6 new starters, right? Including 2 of both the defensive and offensive lines. That's a pretty good way to flip things.
And that kind of movement is way better than what the Bills did, which is, go out and sign and trade for the big wide receiver.
Diggs is good, but is Diggs a top receiver in the NFL?
Is he a top 10?
That's what I'm saying. But do you know what I mean? And so I'm happy for you, Buffalo. It's just a straight Buffalo Bills move.
But they were so happy about it. It's
because they're the Buffalo Bills.
Did you guys watch Stephon Diggs last year? Guy cost me my fantasy championship.
But also, how much? Let's be honest. How much better is Josh Allen than Kirk Cousins? And I'm saying Josh Allen is better. Cool. If you're saying Josh Allen is better, cool.
Oh, I was going to say,
how much better is he?
Yeah, not that much better.
That's what I'm saying. So, all right, cool. Stephon Diggs. I don't know.
He's younger.
I still think that.
I think the good thing is with the Bills is that they're young, so their window isn't going to close anytime soon, right? They've got the really good running back who's only 21. Josh Allen's only 21. Diggs is only 25, 26.
Yeah.
They're going to be good, but I don't think it's going to happen overnight for the Buffalo Bills.
No, I definitely don't. So the AFC East will be very interesting for once, and you go to Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucs. You look at their season because that division's gotten pretty interesting as well.
Well, that division is sick right now. I mean, like that and the NFC West are just the two divisions to be watching.
Does Brady automatically? I mean, you kind of got to think Brady automatically like changes their fortunes last year when you think about how good. And follow me for a second here. How good they were despite Jameis being Jameis.
Yes. Well, Jameis still threw like 30. Sure, he threw 35 interceptions.
He went 30 for 30, man. Come on.
He pulled the Bill Simmons. He went 30 for 30. You know, that takes some talent. God, that was so great. I mean, every weekend.
That's a tough feat, man.
100%. It takes talent. It takes talent to throw that many touchdowns, that many interceptions.
It's difficult to do. To like, I mean, that's an accomplishment. It might not be an accomplishment that you want to be remembered for, but it's memorable.
I want him to go to. I want Jameis to go to New England so bad.
I want Cam to go to New England.
Yeah, well, that's what I called that years ago because I read an interview, or maybe it was just like a soundbite with Bill Belichick about how much he loved Cam Newton. And I was like, oh, you know, that would be pretty good too. They've got, I mean, now follow me on this one, okay? Mm-hmm. I find that the throwing styles of Cam and Tom Brady are very similar, where shorter, over the middle, dink and dump passing. That's what Cam is better at, and then taking one or two deep shots when it's there. Now, of course, Cam, when fully healthy, also gets you like a fullback as a quarterback as well. That's something that Tom obviously didn't have. But, you know, Cam dropping it off to an Edelman and, N'Keal Harry. I mean, I don't even know who else he'd be throwing it to. But but it's the Pats, too. And if you think that they're going to lie down, roll over just because Tom Brady's gone, I think you got another thing coming. Like we're talking about who we think is going to be the favorites in the NFC East, and if they do get a quarterback that they can rely on and make some deals here in the offseason before the play starts, it could be New England's division again.
No, it's true. I mean, have we learned anything? Like, are we going to automatically, in both instances, right? The line was always, you can't bet against Brady and Belichick.
Yeah.
Even with them separate, I'm not really prepared to bet against the Patriots next year or bet against the Bucs next year. Do you know what I mean? I think both those teams will be good.
In both instances, I'm going to bring up Ric Flair and say, to be the man, you got to beat the man.
So you're going to add a woo on the end of that.
Woo! If you can come out here in the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season and put New England at 1-4. I mean, sure, maybe then I'll believe it, but still, we've seen them without Brady, with Brady not being at 100%, still really be able to enforce their will.
And it's not like Brady was like lighting up the passing game the past 2 or 3 years, anyways, right? No. So it'll be interesting. I'm interested to see how this all plays out if there ever is football this year. I mean, I'm not going to be the one to sit here and try to predict what's going to be happening come September. I have no idea.
It's the one league. It's the one league where it's business as usual. Let's just hope that for the draft they don't have the players taking boats to the stage to meet Roger Goodell.
I already think that's been canceled, right? I already think the draft has been
canceled. That
they're just doing it like conference calls or some shit like that. I think they've already decided they're changing up how the draft would normally be. But again, like we're talking all hypotheticals right now because who knows again when we'll see sports. But I mean, as you mentioned, you got a chance to watch the Eagles a couple nights ago. I was fired up watching the Raps. They had Game 3 on against the Bucs, and then they had Game 6 on against the Bucs. I was fired up. I was live tweeting that. I had people in my mentions like going at me, fired up as well. I had a couple group texts. Like people were hyped just to watch that Raptors Game 6 against the Bucs again. So I understand what you're saying, Webby, just in terms of, you take the good with the bad and you take the memories of, getting to watch something that obviously was so incredible. And it gives you a bit of a getaway, at least for a couple hours, right? A getaway from reality, put a smile on your face for a bit. So it was definitely cool to watch those happy times. And I remember Kawhi so fondly. Oh, jeez. Memories.
Yeah,
Memories, right?
I'll tell you the one that I'm going to skip is going to be it's going to be Game 7 against the Sixers. I'll tell you, I won't be watching that night. I'll be watching
No.
Below Deck that night.
Speaking of below deck, so we're talking about recommendations here, right? Because how are you been passing the time? What have you been watching? I feel like now's the time to be binge watching certain shows, and there's a couple ways you can go at it, right? Some people you have where they're saying, "Hey, this is a good time to go back and watch some classics," right? Like I've always wanted to rewatch The Sopranos. Maybe I should do that. How have you been looking at this, Webby? Have you been seeking out new shows? Have you binge watched anything so far? And if you have, what has that show been?
Well, you should definitely go back and watch The Sopranos because that is, in my opinion, the best show that has ever been on TV.
Never a bad idea to watch The Sopranos.
That's my number one for sure. No, well, I was very excited because actually, like, it's so funny now. It seems like at the beginning of every month we get a whole new slate of awesome shows or movies that are being released on these streaming sites. Like almost as many that would come out in a whole year come out now in a month, and I find myself sometimes falling behind. Right, so there's a couple of shows that are that have come out this month that I've been really into. So one that came out a little while ago on Netflix is called Narcos Mexico. Now,
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with the original Narcos. It was also a Netflix show.
I did watch the original, yes.
Yeah, about Pablo Escobar, right? So that's super sweet. I thought it was awesome. So Narcos Mexico, though, is about how the cartels in Mexico started. And it's funny, the guy who plays Pablo makes a little cameo in this as well. But it's got some awesome actors that you'd definitely recognize. So the first is Diego Luna, who's a Mexican actor that you would know, and then the other one is here I'm going to look it up right now. End of Watch. He's the Mexican guy from End of Watch with Jake Gyllenhaal, where they were cops.
I think I've seen that. I'm not really sure if I've seen that movie before.
And it's like found footage. It's like it's all done through their dash cams.
Oh, it's all done through their dash cams, and yeah. I haven't seen that movie,
so,
but that is something
movie.
that I should put on the list. I should put that on the list.
So
just for how they shot it.
Yeah, Michael Pena. Michael Pena is the guy's
name. Yes, for sure.
So he plays a DEA agent, and then it's so good, and so that got me into kind of drug dealing shows, and then Amazon Prime just dropped this series called 000, and I just started it, and it's all the episodes are out right now on Amazon Prime.
Hold on, is this something to do with Sam Mitchell or no?
Yeah, no, it's Rafer Alston, right? Wasn't it Rafer Alston who had the zero?
Well, I don't remember who the 0000 was about in particular. Sorry, I interrupted you. My bad.
No, it's so good. That would be amazing if it was about the 2008 Raptors team.
That's what the 30 for 30 is called.
Yeah, 000. No, okay. So this show is about a large cocaine deal that does not go so well, and it's told through three different kind of points of view. The buyers, who are an Italian mob family, the sellers, who are a Mexican drug cartel, and then the facilitators, which is this family in New Orleans who owns a shipping company, and it is badass. There's a lot of action going on. The Mexican guy, he's like a turned Mexican DEA agent, and he is a bad man.
Okay.
He is a bad man. And then the grandfather of the Italian mob family, also bad man.
Okay.
I
like it.
000. That's the one. That's my prestige show, right? That's the show that's very, you can tell your highfalutin friends, that you're watching a good. It's not like Below Deck, which I know we're both watching.
Well, here's the thing, right? Because I haven't gotten here yet. I haven't gotten into, I'm going to deep dive into blank great drama or great dramatic show yet, right? I haven't gotten to that point. what I've been doing to pass the time, because I really don't know what to do with myself. Like, it's been so weird. And so I've been watching just randomness, and I've watched a bunch of YouTube stuff, which I'll get to later on. But I've been on reality TV. So I've been watching, I tried to watch, you're going to get mad at me here. You're going to get mad at me. I'll say this.
Why would I get
Or
mad at you about
people
bad?
listening are going to get mad at me for sure, because I've never watched Breaking Bad, right? And so a couple weeks ago, I was talking at work, and I was saying, yeah, I haven't seen Breaking Bad, and it's really just because I know myself in and how I watch television, and it's one of those things where I need an extended time off, because I'll just like stay up all night watching episodes. Like,
Yeah.
literally the sun will be coming up, and I'll just be like, all right, one more episode, and I'll
That's
just keep
how I
going.
watched. That's how I watched the first 2 seasons of Breaking Bad.
So when this happened, obviously it's like, oh, okay, I guess this is a time now that I should probably watch Breaking Bad. So a couple nights ago, but the problem was, I think it was early on in this social distancing. We're still trying to like figure out everything, your body clock, how you're eating, right? Because everything's thrown off, right? Like, I haven't gotten into a regular routine of how you're eating, what you're eating, when you're waking up, when you're like going for a walk. Like, I haven't gotten used to any of that. And it was even way worse 2 days ago when I tried to watch Breaking Bad. And so I was a bit in a food coma. I was a bit like a bit too many spiced rums in,
There's
right?
never too many spiced rums.
But I mean, I was, when you get in that comfy groove on the couch and you're sitting down, and then that sit
Oh,
down
yeah.
turns to a lay down. That's what
Oh, yeah.
happened. And I was just out. So I'm like falling asleep, but trying to stay awake. And I'm only maybe 2 episodes in. Like, dudes, spoiler alert, even though I'm doing air quotes right now because it's kind of ridiculous to have a spoiler alert for a show that came out over a decade ago. But early episodes when the dude's still in his in the basement, they're trying to figure out
Yeah.
what to do with the guy, and I'm watching it and I'm like, okay, just fucking kill the guy already. This is being dragged out for so long. This is so stupid. And I'm like drifting. I'm like falling asleep, trying to stay awake, but trying to watch, and it's just not working. So eventually, I like doze off. I don't even know when I woke up or what episode it was when I woke up, and I'm like, I can't watch this right now because I'm just clearly falling asleep. So I got a drink of water, sat back down, and I'm like, okay, I need to like just watch something else right now because I'm not going to bed. And I ended up watching 7 straight episodes of Below Deck. And I'll be honest, I would not normally admit that, but in these times where I feel like this is a safe space and we're just
safe
sharing,
space.
7 episodes of Below Deck, I was in. I was entertained. I can't even lie. It was
Now, are
like
you
sailing
regular-
at sea or something
reg-
like that.
Regular below deck or you Mediterranean?
I think it was like sailing at sea or something like that. Like, the big thing
sure.
was this yacht you could also sail. That was like the big thing.
Oh, okay.
So I never really watched Below Deck. I would always see the promos for it. I always
so
huge
good.
shout out to my guy Dave Jacoby and Juliet Littman from their old podcast, The Right Reasons.
I know.
Which they actually brought back right now.
I started watching it like a little while ago, Below Deck, because
Yeah.
the wife got that thing on Amazon where it has all the reality shows.
Yes,
and so
yes,
I was like bored, and so I started getting into Below Deck, and I tweeted at Jalen and Jacoby, or Jacoby and Juliet. I was like, "Oh my god, I should have totally taken your advice to watch this show."
Yeah, they
6
used to love
years
that show.
ago. Yeah.
Oh, they were huge supporters of that show, and I never watched it, right? Never really watched episodes, and then I don't even know why I ended up watching it now. It was just because, oh, do you know what I did, actually? I was flicking channels. That's what it was. I was actually, like, going through the guide, seeing what's on TV right now. That's how, like, out of sorts I was in terms of what to do. Because let's be honest, in 2020, how often do we just sit on TV and, like, go through the guide to see what's on? I never do that. It's always like, I know what I'm going to watch right now, and I'm going right to it, or it's on my PVR, or whatever. But flicking around, I saw Below Deck. I watched like 5 minutes of a segment, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to the start of an episode. And I just went to it. And yeah, 7 episodes later, I'm like, yo, this was pretty funny. You have there's so many just funny dynamics to the show. And the one episode, I don't want to do a Below Deck deep dive, but the one episode, it was like a guy's trip. and it was just these bros from like Long Island, and they were just so drunk and just annoying and just like shitheads that I was just
Oh,
watching this and thinking, I really hope I don't have friends that are like this. Like, I hope I don't know anybody who's like this. Like, it was just so ridiculous. But I was entertained. And it's such a great, when I watch these reality shows, I also think of it from like a production standpoint in terms of putting together shows.
oh
And it's
yeah,
super interesting to me in the sense that it doesn't follow the, oh, here's one charter or one vacation per episode. It mix and matches, right? So you might get, something becomes a little too boring. Oh, well, this group's over, they're off the boat. Now we got this new group on the boat that are
yeah.
taking it out on the charter. And I thought that was cool. So I
Yeah,
don't know. I was
some
hooked.
groups, some charters, nothing really happens, and so it's only
Exactly.
like a half an episode. But so it's funny that you brought up, just kind of flipping channels. So where I am now, like my father-in-law, he's got a PVR, and so part of my routine being home now is to like wake up and go through all the movie channels,
Okay.
and whether it's like Stars or HBO or whatever, and then
Yep.
go and find movies that I haven't seen or maybe I haven't seen in a little while, and then record them. So I did this the other day, and this was a couple of days into all the stuff that's going on, and I downloaded this movie just because I had heard about it through podcasts and whatever, Twitter. I recorded. It's called Unfriended 2 Dark Web.
Okay.
All right, now I've never seen Unfriended 1, but I heard Unfriended 2 Dark Web was worth it. Was really
Okay.
like
Okay.
creative, and it's so funny. I was watching this movie, and it's about these 5 friends, and it all takes place on a computer. So what you
Okay.
see is the desktop of the main character, and he's got just like tomorrow. I've got a buddy who's having a birthday party, and it's a Google Hangout. So everybody's going to have a little. Everybody's going to have a little box. We're all going to be, having a drink or two, whatever. But it's like that, but only it's a horror movie.
Okay.
As these like hackers or whatever are like picking off every single one of these people that he has on his desktop, all of his buddies. Anyway, I thought it was a really, really creative way to do a kind of a scary thriller horror movie like this, but definitely so relevant in the times that we are in right now. Just with
I
all the
gotcha. I
different
gotcha.
windows. Oh, it was really good. So if you see it out there, I can't recommend Unfriended 2 Dark Web enough. And then the other one too was the night after the basketball canceled the season or suspended
Okay.
the season.
Yeah. Yeah.
I watched Contagion.
Of course you did. I heard
I don't know.
did they do a rewatchables? I
They
think they
did.
did, dude.
They did a rewatchables. I had no idea they were doing that, but I watched it and then they did it. And just because I hadn't seen it in a couple of years, and it was like
Yeah.
I'm getting serious Contagion vibes from what's going on. Man,
I love the rewatchables, by the way.
Oh, they're doing 2 a week now. It's so good. But if you've never seen Contagion, watch that shit because it's pretty crazy, and it's very
I don't know if I
relevant
want
to
to
what's
watch
going on.
that. I'll be honest. I don't know if I want to watch that normally, and I don't know if I want to watch that right now.
Oh man,
Like, I think, you know what? I honestly think this might be why I'm in this like weird wormhole of like weird reality TV,
escapist. Yeah,
or I've been watching like YouTube interviews, right? So it's like the Knuckleheads podcast. I've been watching like a bunch of episodes of that. Like I've just been watching like random shit because I feel like when I turn on to watch a movie or something serious, I'm like, I don't want to watch something serious right now. I don't know. I think that's the headspace I'm in. I'm trying to like analyze myself right now in the moment, trying to figure out why I'm watching Siesta Key at like 4 a.m. the other night. I'm like, why can't I go to sleep right now? This is ridiculous. But just terrible reality TV, although not terrible reality TV. I stand by firmly Vanderpump Rules, which is in the middle of a season right now.
I gotta get into it.
Jax's wedding is going on right now. Big things going on there. So highly recommended there. What else have I been watching? Oh, I've been watching Big Brother Canada, although I'm about to stop watching Big Brother Canada.
All
And
right, you mentioned this a little while ago. You got to bring this up because I've not been watching it. I need to know what's happening.
so I don't know what happened tonight, but I see that there was a video by the host, like late tonight, like as we were setting up to do this. There was a post by the host, and I just saw one of my friends, one of our friends actually, Niche, respond to it
Yeah.
very negatively. Like he's not happy with whatever she had to say, whatever the host had to say.
Oh no!
Let me see if I can find it. I'm not gonna listen to it right now, but whatever. Oh, so she put a reset button, BB Canada 8, and his comment just said cowards. So I don't know what that means. I don't know what happened, but there's a 5-minute video from the host. And either way, I think I'm out because here's the thing. Going into the season, I wasn't going to watch. I never watched Big Brother Canada, right?
Yeah,
I always watch the American one. So this time I'm like, all right, I got time. I'm in. Big Brother Canada, I'm going to give you guys a shot. And I really liked the casting that they did with this season, because what normally happens on all reality shows, but especially ones like this and especially on Big Brother, the US version, is the cast is very stereotypical, right? Which means they'll have, here's the black guy that's like the black guy or black girl that's like super angry and mad all the time.
Here's the gay guy. Yeah.
Here's a gay guy. Here's the dumb blonde. Yeah. Here's the huge jock. Here's the old person that's going to get voted off first.
The real world equation.
But they do it, and it's like so ridiculously stereotypical, and it's the same beats they're hitting all the time. But on this cast that they had for Big Brother, I give them a lot of credit because, there's multiple minorities on the show, right? So, like, you have a black girl, you have a black guy, and it's not the stereotypical, like, oh, this person just angry and mad. Or they have multiple blonde girls, and it's not like, oh, this is just a dumb blonde, right? So it's showing you subconsciously that, like, hey, you know what? You can have multiple people that look the same or come from the same background, but they're different personalities. Imagine that, right? And I guess we're more, like, being from Toronto, like, we have a different viewpoint of all that, of course, but seeing that on a reality show is like, oh, this is kind of refreshing. I'm in. And then maybe 7 episodes in, because I don't know where they're at now, and I haven't even seen the episode yet, but it leaked online already. So this one guy who might have been one of the funniest people on, his name's Jamar, and he's a black guy, or Jammer, and he's a black guy from like Ajax, but he is like a jokes like Scarborough Mans. And anyone from Toronto knows exactly what I'm talking about when I say Scarborough Mans. Like, he just jokes. So you got the slang, you got the lingo. He's just funny. He was funny in the house. And so a clip leaked online where he was arguing with another player, right? And while he was arguing with the other player, at one point he like walks away and he's like, oh, you wouldn't even talk to me like that if we weren't in the house. And he's just like, you wouldn't even talk to me like that in the house like that. You wouldn't talk to me to my face like that. You wouldn't talk to me like that out of the house. And he said something along the lines of, as he's walking away, and he's like, yo, man, this is so dumb. And he's like, people don't talk to other people like that. People get popped for stuff like that. Right? And that's what he said. And so
they thought they
took it as, no, but they took it as like, he's threatening them. They took that as to say that he said he was going to pop the person or kill the person or shoot the person. Like, they took it like literally, as if like this kid on Big Brother was actually saying, I'm gonna get someone to shoot you, which is completely ridiculous. So my guy ends up getting kicked off the show, or I'm assuming that's what happened, because all of a sudden Twitter was just like, I stand with Jamar. You had all these people coming out speaking on it, and he ends up getting kicked off the show. And obviously people are mad because they're just like, this is dumb. Right? Like, it's just stupid. And so when something like that happens, I'm like, I don't think I'm going to watch anymore, because this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous that it would be that dumb that you're going to take something like that, someone just speaking in slang, that like anyone knows that that's not a serious threat. No. Plus, on these reality shows, people fight way worse than that. And he wasn't even screaming. He didn't even raise his voice. But the fact that the other person was like, are you threatening me? Like, that made it into a thing where, oh no, we got to stop this and we got to kick the guy off. So I don't know what ended up happening, but because of the fuckery as is, I think I'm out on Big Brother Canada.
What was that old You would definitely know this. The old like bootleg DVD that was going around of like in the Scarborough projects and all the kids rolling. Yeah, I know you know what this is.
I want to say Smack. No, that was a
Just
US
a
one,
walk,
right?
just a walk around ting.
Yeah.
All those guys talking.
What am I? Yeah. Oh, and then was it T. Goon Squad or something like that? Because because those guys ended up getting a deal with like Much Music or something,
Really?
and they were like, I think they did. I think they ended up doing like videos or something for Much Music, but it ended up being a big deal because Drake went on one of them, right?
Yeah,
Is that what you're talking about?
I think so.
Yeah.
What were those?
But it was just so dumb. It was just like such a dumb storyline that like, okay, what are we doing right now? Like this is a reality TV show.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what they're doing. They're using this to drum up interest in Big Brother Canada, because now no matter how they handle it, they've got engagement with people like Niche who are getting up in arms about getting this kid kicked out, and it's like. Yeah. It's like normally I would never know what Big Brother Canada is, but now even
it's true.
You just told me there was something going on, and now what do I have up on my TV right now?
Well, you're going to click on the Twitter and you're going to see what's going on, which is, as much as I say I'm not going to watch, I'm going to see what happened so I can actually be mad.
And that's what the producers want, right? That's what they want.
It's amazing. It's actually amazing. But yeah, I've been watching ridiculous reality TV, Webby.
Now, speaking of ridiculous reality TV, did you watch the Love is Blind?
No. See, and here's a hypocrisy in like my ridiculous nature.
Yeah.
I always try to say that I have a line, right? Like, I admit I watch ridiculous television, but I always like to think that I have a line where I draw the line and I'm like, no, I will not watch this show. And when someone broke down Love is Blind to me, I'm like, nah, I'm not watching that.
Bro, I thought it was fake the first like 4 episodes.
So like, I don't even watch The Bachelor. Like, I'll tune in when like the real fuckery starts happening, like when they have the overnights, and then I'll watch like the end when like, you know,
when Dude's mom came out. That I didn't even watch it this time, but I was reading about it.
So I watched like the end of it, right? I watched the end of The Bachelor, and that was like funny. But I'm not sitting here watching like 2 hours every single week from the beginning. Nah. I'm not doing that. I have a line. And so Love is Blind was one of those things where I'm like, someone was describing it to me. I'm like, nah, this sounds really stupid and super fake. And really I know all reality TV is fake. Like, no, and Jax and Stassi do not work at Lisa Vanderpump's. Right. Like, they don't work as bartenders there. Like, that's fake. Like, I get it. But, like, I'm able to suspend that little bit of reality. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can suspend that little bit of disbelief. Whereas Love is Blind, like, nobody's sitting in some isolated room and talking to someone. Like, that's not, no, I can't do it. Not doing it.
No,
I say that now.
It was wild.
I'll say this, Webby. I'll say that now while we're still in single digits of my social distancing.
Yeah, 100%.
Talk to me once we get into.
I was going to say 100% you're going to crack and you're going to end up watching Love is Blind and being like, what am I doing? These people are idiots.
So I need you guys to help me, the people watching and listening to this podcast. Send us some of your recommendations, what you guys are watching, so that I don't end up watching Love is Blind, or give us your Love is Blind takes, right? Because we could be here maybe you could convince me to watch Love is Blind. I don't know. But send us your comments, questions, what you guys are watching. For sure, we always love your recommendations, opening it up to you guys as well. And also, too, the challenge is coming. Go on. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say the other one is the one that we didn't get a chance to talk about here in the past that was very relevant to our conversations usually when the league is on. But have you seen Uncut Gems yet?
I have seen Uncut Gems. What did you... Okay, you've seen it, right?
Oh, listen, KG, can you do me one favor? Just one favor, KG. Just stay off the glass. If you don't lean on the glass.
So, movie recommendations. Uncut Gems is a great call, Webby. I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it. But the one thing I will say, it was another example of, when you almost hear someone describe a movie a little bit too much, and then it affects how you watched it?
Yeah.
So I thought it was really good, but multiple people before I watched it, they were describing it to me as, oh man, it was so intense. Like I was sitting on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
Like I was so nervous watching it. And so that changed my viewing of it. And I was watching it thinking, okay, yeah, I kind of get what they were saying, but I wasn't really that like sitting on
No.
the edge of my seat. Like I was just watching it and enjoying it. But then it hit me. I was like, oh, these people don't bet on sports.
Right. Right.
So I was like, oh, and I mean like really bet on sports. Like I'm not talking like pro line, whatever. I'm saying like, you've never lost like $200 on some stupid, because someone backdoor covered, right? Do you know what I mean?
KG lost the tip. That was my favorite one at the end when he's like, "Oh, that's the hardest one to get out of the way."
Which I heard isn't even something you can actually bet on.
No, you
right?
can't.
Like that's
there was
a fake. Like
there
that's
was
just
a bunch
they
of shit in that.
they
movie.
exaggerated that. But
Yeah.
I thought it was a real. But with all that said, I still thought it was a really good movie. I thought KG did a good job. I thought Adam Sandler was really good. Like
Yeah. And how good is Lakeith Stanfield, man? He can play so many different roles. Like that guy's an outstanding actor. Like, as soon as I saw him in Atlanta, I was like, this guy's great. And then I saw him in another great movie called Sorry to Bother You.
Okay.
And that was like the first thing I'd seen him like star in. But man, that guy's friggin' he's gonna be a star, man.
I saw a trailer the other day of like rom-com with him and what's homegirl? Homegirl from Insecure, Issa Rae.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yo, this dude is getting his like Denzel on in this movie. Do you know what I mean? Like his smooth like Morris Chestnut on in this movie. And further to your point, I'm like, yo, you're right. His range, like he is an incredible actor because the way that he's able to play all these different characters and these completely different characters and pull them off and make each one believable. It's so good. I thought he was incredible in that movie.
Yeah, he was.
Sandler, I also thought did a really good job as well.
Oh, he was good. And the girl. I thought the girl was really good. His girlfriend.
The mistress.
Yeah, she was incredible.
Yeah, it was a really good movie. And I always like those movies too where I like how The Weeknd was The Weeknd and KG was KG. Yeah. And
when
like
KG
how you plug the yes, like when exactly. And I thought that was really cool. But what did you make of, just the talk of the other people who were supposed to play the KG role? So it bounced around a bunch.
who was supposed to originally going to play it.
Well, I don't know if it was originally, but I'm glad it didn't happen. The last person before KG was supposed to be Joel Embiid.
Oh,
right?
Would have been
and I'm so glad that didn't happen. No, I will say though, I have a huge distaste for Joel Embiid, which I know you have a huge love affair for Joel Embiid.
Again, because you're a Toronto fan. Like the last dude.
No, because he's a huge loser. That's why.
No, you're a huge loser. The last highlight, and I was just like kind of going through because I was a little sad about the no NBA, and I was going through what had happened that last night of games. Do you realize what one of the last highlights of the NBA season is? Is Mike Scott dunking all over somebody, and Joel Embiid then giving him the suck it sign when he's on the ground.
That's your man's.
That's your 100%. I ride for Embiid, 100%.
I know you do, but I'm glad that he was not in Uncut Gems. I am intrigued though by the fact that at one point they thought maybe they were trying to get Kobe to do it.
Yeah,
which I don't know how that would have played out.
Those guys who directed Uncut Gems are awesome. The Safdie brothers.
And it was Amari originally, right?
Yeah, it was Amari originally, yeah.
Yeah. So it was super interesting, but at the end of the day, KG did a really good job, and it was funny. I was just watching, fantastic. As I mentioned, I've been watching a lot of like YouTube videos and YouTube like interviews stuff, right? So like different podcasts. So like the Knuckleheads podcast, I've been watching a bunch of those, and I watched an episode with KG.
Tell the people because I just looked it up. I was like, Knuckleheads podcast, I've heard of it. But
the Knuckleheads podcast is it's with Darius Miles and Quentin Richardson. Host a podcast for I forget what brand it's for. Is it for the Players Tribune? Or something?
Players Tribune.
And so they host a podcast where they just have whoever on and they just tell stories the whole time, and it's really good.
Yeah,
Like
I
you
am
wouldn't
watching that
picture,
shit.
yeah, like I didn't know much about D Miles' is like personality per se, but he's a really good interviewer, right? And I think they do
Yeah.
a really good job of like getting guys who they have on to tell stories. And so I watched maybe 5 to 10 of those. Like KG, I watched the Shaq one, I watched the Paul Pierce one. Like it's really good, and they tell some really good stories. But
Yeah.
the KG one, he was talking
Steve
about
Nash is on there.
the Steve Nash one was Canadian basketball fans. The Steve Nash one is really good because they talk a lot about 7 seconds or less Suns
Yeah.
that first year and how good they were. And Quentin Richardson actually tells a good story about. I'm not ruining anything, but he tells a good story about how the salary cap number changed like as they were about to sign, and he was going to sign the same time as Steve Nash, and they were both in the office and they're about to sign, and then all of a sudden everyone leaves and they're like, what's going on? And then there's whispers and they find out that they mistakenly had the wrong cap number, and so the cap was actually less than what they had budgeted for, and
Oh,
so somebody needed to give back some money. They need to figure something out, and Nash just like right away was just like, oh, whatever it is, just take it off of mine and give it to Q. Like right,
yeah.
like no questions asked, no nothing, and Quentin Richardson was just like, yo, I never forgot that. But he also just talks about how great of a leader Steve Nash was. So it's just cool to hear them tell stories. But all of those
Shoot.
really good watching. Fell down that wormhole. What else have I been? I've been watching just a lot of stuff like that, man. I watched some crazy thing last night on. It was like a 2 hour interview with like all the dudes, the behind the scenes dudes of Rockefeller Records. So forget
Oh.
about no Dame Dash, no Jay, obviously, no Kanye, but like it was Biggs. It was like
Yeah.
all the guys you hear get shouted out in songs, right? So it was like Biggs, it was Young Guru, hip
Yeah.
hop, right? Like Lenny S, like it was all those dudes, right? And then at the end they bring out like Jim Jones came out, Freeway, your man's Freeway came
My
out. That was
guy.
cool. Chris and Neef. And they just tell like good stories about the early days of the rock, and there's so many like interesting tidbits. And at first I looked at it and I was like, holy shit, this is 2 hours. I don't know if I'm gonna watch this. And I'm like, well, what else do I have to do?
And
And then 2 hours later I was like, oh, I was entertained. A lot of good stories, but the
yeah.
biggest thing I want to bring up from that, Webby, to which I didn't know, they were laughing and then kind of backtrack because they didn't want to make Memphis Bleak look bad. But they were saying like Memphis Bleak passed on so many bangers they tried to give to Memphis Bleak, and he like turned down the songs. Like they tried to
Really?
give him the song "Whoa," he passed on that beat. They tried to give him Uchi Wally, he passed on that beat.
That's
They tried to
probably
give
smart
him
in hindsight.
True. They tried to give him what was it? You don't know, maybe.
Oh,
Maybe you don't
really?
know. I think it was like it was just so many bangers they tried to give Memphis Bleak, and they're like, yeah, man, Bleak passed them up. Flip side, maybe.
Oh
Like so many.
no.
They talked about making flip side and like how Freeway was like the nicest guy. Guru was like, yo, oh no, Just Blaze was there as well, and Just Blaze
Oh,
is a character,
yeah.
so that was
Yo,
good watching as well.
Blaze is amazing on Twitter, man. He's great.
Good watching, man. I mean, lots of stuff out there, lots of stuff to watch,
Yeah.
lots of stuff. We'll take your recommendations. What have you been watching, Webby? What else have you been on, man?
What else have I been on? Contagion. Oh, you know what? So, like, I've just been kind of vacillating too between Netflix and Prime. So, let me see what I got
I
here on
got you.
the well, what's on Netflix here. So, because I've been curating a little list of things that I need to watch. So,
I got
obviously,
you.
these are ones that I've got on the come up here. So, Godfather 1 and 2.
Okay.
Because if you haven't seen those movies, you need to see them.
Now's the time.
My wife has not seen them, so we are going to be watching those. Sicario, I've seen 4 times. I'm going to watch it again. Sicario is an absolutely unbelievable movie. Needs to be watched by everybody. Let me see. What else? Let's see. I'm just on the flicks here. What else?
I hear you. I like that you've been
Oh,
on movies, and I think that's like the interesting side of all this because I haven't done the movie dive yet.
yeah.
I'm still on the like tiptoe of, oh no, you should probably just start watching a bunch of movies and a bunch of series because we might be here for a while.
See, my series, like, did you watch Cheer?
No, I've heard that's
you
good,
know you know about Cheer though?
I know a little bit. Give me a little pitch though. Give me a little pitch.
I'll tell you what Cheer is. Did you ever watch the junior college football show, Last Chance U?
Oh yeah, Last Chance U. Yeah.
Okay, this is Last Chance U, but for cheerleaders. So
okay,
it'll follow different girls and guys that are in this cheerleading, like this tiny school in the middle of nowhere, Texas, that wins every year. And they follow just the people who have good background stories, and you really get to know them. But the thing is all the cheerleaders, the females, are super fit, and just about every episode somebody suffers a catastrophic injury.
Oh, jeez.
It's incredible.
Jeez.
So it's
all right. I'm in. I'm in.
It's awesome. It's a really, really good show. And if you like that kind of style of that Last Chance U at all, this is really good. And it's even better because it's not like with those football shows, the coaches were always dicks and like terrible people. The coach in the Cheer show is really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm here for that. That sounds like something I'd be into. I like those kind of like reality shows where it's like behind the scenes and you're following someone through a season.
Yeah,
like I'm always in on those.
I'm in on that. I'm in on that big time. And then and then podcasts. So you mentioned that the Knuckleheads. I'm definitely going to be diving in on that. You mentioned a little bit about.
Here's my question to you though. Will you listen to that or will you watch that on YouTube? I find myself like I'm a Joe Budden guy, and I put up the Joe Budden podcast on my TV all the time, and I watch that. So same thing with like the Knuckleheads and all that. It's always on my TV. I watch it.
Oh, I'm listening to it because I'm still going for walks.
I got you.
I'll go for like an hour-long walk. Got to bring the little packs with me, now that we're working from home. So listening to podcasts, you mentioned the rewatchables. That is a must listen to for anybody who's a movie fan. And then the other one that I won't go a week without is Jesus and Marrow.
Yes. For people who don't know, before we get to Jesus and Marrow though, because another recommendation here, for people who don't know what the rewatchables is, it's a thing on The Ringer, and what they do is they take an old movie and they just break it down. And obviously they've rewatched the movie, but then they break it down and talk about the rewatchable scenes and talk about like what made this movie so good or so bad, or what made this movie rewatchable, essentially. Yeah. That's the premise of it. But they pick not always like the most like famous or popular movies.
Which is so good, right? Like, and what you should do is just open up that app. If you're ever looking for something to watch, just go through and be like, oh, if you've never seen The Breakfast Club, or if you've never seen what was one of the True Romance, or they did Do the Right Thing. If you've never seen any of these movies, it gives you a great reason to watch it. Like, oh, I'm going to watch this and then listen to the podcast. Because you're going to see some incredible movies that they talk about.
I've done that so many times now where I see like, oh, this is on the rewatchables. I haven't seen this movie. I'm going to watch that now. I've done that so many times lately.
I know.
I love that pod. I think it's really good, regardless of who they have on it. Like, I think Fennessy, Chris Ryan, or even Simmons is there or not. I always think that it's good either way. But yeah, really enjoy that podcast a lot. I think one of the last ones I watched, they did Higher Learning.
Oh, which so good. It's so
right
good.
Up my alley. I love that movie so much.
Do you know how many times I've watched Higher Learning? Like, dude, I used to have HBO back in the day when I was in like elementary school, and I remember that coming out on HBO and taping it, and I would watch it. Like, I thought that's how I knew about Busta Rhymes, it seemed like, before Busta Rhymes got really big. I was like,
for sure.
Holy shit, that's a guy from Higher Learning.
For sure. Yeah, their rewatchables was really good. Really good. But no, I interrupted you. You were talking about podcasts and Jesus and Marrow.
Oh, yeah. And then, if you're looking for anything to listen to, or, I know you like Budden, but nobody beats Jesus and Marrow. They are the two funniest. I they're funnier than most stand-up comedians. They're so funny.
I did watch how they started this season. They had Letterman on. Was Letterman on for the first episode of the new season? It was early on. They had Letterman on. I watched that episode. It was really good. And Letterman was like bigging them up hard. Like, and you could tell they were taken aback. Like, wait, how do you even know who we are? Type thing, right? Yeah. And Letterman's like, no. He's like, I remember seeing you guys early on, and I thought, okay, this is good. I like where this is. I can see where this is going, and this is going to work because it's just different. Right. And he was talking, and the interview was so good because he was talking about how, you know, I guess how much of a routine the show became to him, his late night show. And so when he saw them come on the scene, he was like, this is going to work. Like, it was just refreshing and different and didn't go by the same rules as every other late night show. And it was a really cool vibe to see that, because you wouldn't have, like, if you just thought and someone said, hey, David Letterman's on Desus and Mero, like, you kind of would have been like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder how that's going to go. Do you know what I mean? But it was really dope.
I mean, their old late night show where they were in front of the Bear with the
Vice one,
that was unmissable TV. They were so good. They were so good.
Question to you. Do you like the new show? I like the old show better. I don't think that the new show is
I like the old show better. I just don't think, like, the skits, like, I just want to see them talk shit and then interview somebody. Exactly. Like, and then when you have the podcast, they don't even interview anybody. They just talk shit for, like, an hour and a half.
I completely messed this whole thing up. I'm talking about the show, and you were talking about just their podcast.
Just their podcast. The Bodega Boys.
I'm with you. Yeah, the Bodega Boys podcast, where it all began.
Dude, I listen to that shit and I am crying, laughing. Like, they say some stuff on there that, like, oh my, it's so good. If you like to laugh, honestly, there's very few people out there that are funnier right now than Desus and Mero.
I will say, man, a lot of things too, because a lot of the things that I watch, I'm always trying to, like, learn and obviously apply to things that I'm trying to do and all that. And it was really cool to me because one of the things early on from watching their careers, but also same thing with Joe Budden, just seeing the different ways that people listen to your shit.
Yeah.
So when they started filming their podcast, the Bodega Boys podcast, it was super dope. Like, how it's shot in that Milk Studios.
Yeah.
It's shot super cool. And I always thought it was dope how they, you know, just how much they put into their podcast. And even though they still continued to rise and, like, get the big Showtime checks, they never stopped doing their podcast, which is what got them to where they are now. You know what I mean? I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And they shout out Scarborough all the time.
Like, what did they know about Scarborough? Amazing.
So the big joke is that Desus has a second family in Scarborough at Square One, and so he's always like, "Catch me at Square One."
Square One is in Mississauga.
Oh, sorry, Mississauga. My bad. Not Scarborough, Mississauga.
Saga City. Someone there's some Mississauga mans that's, like, listening to us right now that's, like, super cheesed, and some other Scarborough
just, like,
mans
going
like,
off the road.
Yo, man, how you gonna diss STC right now, man? STC.
Yo, just
you
a quick walk around Ting, Scarborough Town Center.
STC.
Square
man.
One.
STC.
I've been out here
incredible.
out west too long.
West Coast Webby, man. West Coast Webby.
West Coast Webby, that's it.
Hey. But, yeah, so much to talk about, Webby, and I think now that, I mean, just because I do want to talk to you more frequently and we should just film these conversations, I feel like we'll be talking a lot more regularly now.
Yeah, man.
If that's okay with
and
you.
Let's try and find, like, 2 or 3 new things, like, dig through the annals of what we have on these streaming things. Find some good shit to tell the people about and just connect, you know? Make sure everybody out there in podcast land is doing good. If you need anything from us, hit us up on the socials, man.
hit us up on the socials. Send us your recommendations, what you guys are watching. Make fun of what we're watching because, hey, I know, make fun of me for watching the fuckery that I watch. I know. But let us know for sure. We want to open up this conversation, especially during this time where we need a laugh. We need more things to watch and put a smile on our faces. So hopefully we provided a little bit of an escape for you guys, even if it was just for a little bit. But again, as Webby said, man, continue and hit us up on the socials in between. And we'll talk shit to you in between for sure on Twitter. If, when the Raps Sixers game's on, don't worry, I'll be adding Webby whenever that game's on.
No, I won't.
Sure.
Will not be watching Game 7. I will not be watching Game 7.
Or what's a game when Embiid was doing the airplane selling and all that?
I think that was Game 5. I will be watching that.
I'm going to rewatch that one just because it'll be so much funnier watching it to know what happens next. Because I was so mad while watching it.
I remember coming into work the next day doing the airplane thing. I was so innocent back then.
So good. Webby, where can the people hit you up though, man? Because we left some stuff off the table, but again, we're going to do this a little more often. We'll see what schedules are like, and we'll see how often we can pick this up and do it.
Shelly, my schedule is wide open.
You know what? Me too, Webby. So we'll figure some things out and we'll give more to the people. But in the meantime, between time, Webby, where can the people hit you up on the socials?
Just hit me up on Twitter or Instagram. It's the same for both at Webster84.
And of course, you can find me on Twitter at Shell Alexander and on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander. Like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, all those fun things. Again, like and subscribe, share it with your friends. And we really mean this, guys, especially in this time. Let us know what you guys think of the pod. Give us suggestions on if there's something you guys want us to talk about, something you want us to watch and review every week. Maybe that's something we'll start. We'll take one thing from a viewer that they want us to watch, and we'll promise to watch it before we do the next podcast.
Like our own little rewatchables.
Ooh. But suggested by the fans. So let's say someone says, let's watch whatever blank movie. We'll say, okay, this is what we're choosing this week. And then the next time we talk, because maybe we could do this more than once a week, but we'll talk about that later. But we'll figure that out and we'll just figure stuff out to watch. I like that. I like that idea.
Yeah, that sounds real good. So give us some good good recommendations.
And don't just be like, hey, watch The Office.
Yeah, no, something that's a little off the beaten track, you know?
Yeah. For sure. But again, guys, thanks for tuning in. Really hope you enjoyed this time. For my guy, Andrew Webster, I'm Sheldon Alexander. And of course, I used to pray for times like this to rhyme like this. This is the On Blast podcast. As always, unpolished and unapologetic. Until next time, see ya.
Peace.
On blast.